Welcome to Mindset Stories. Today, you are all very fortunate. We're going to dig in to our guest, Luciano Somerville, or Luch, as we like to call him. Today, Luch is going to share his story, a little bit about, his background and things that he has processed throughout his life. I am super excited.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm excited. And I think this is a big part of like us starting this podcast is like each being a guest on it and sharing our stories, and so the listeners can get to know us a little bit better too.
Without further ado, we will dive into Luciano's story.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, I appreciate you holding the space for me to do this and going on this journey with me for this venture that we're on. So
Yeah.
wanted to start with that. And I also think that, just to preface this, I think it's important for us to do this too, because, and you and I have talked about this before, like we don't want to ask other people to do something that we're also not willing to do ourselves, right? So I think it's important for us to do this too, and to, share our own vulnerabilities or stories, or, just being open and transparent about the things that we've been through that have made us the people that we are and brought us to where we are too. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because we were both like, probably should do a stories, and you're like, and then we're like, no, people are gonna do that with us, so we should definitely, set the stage and do that. So also, I think will help us put in the guest shoes in terms of like what we're asking them to do, as you mentioned.
totally. Yeah. So
All right, so here we go. Take us back a bit to like before this being kind of like what we're going to talk about today, and who you were, and maybe what that world looked like before attack some of the things and the challenges that you are going to mention today.
a little bit of foreshadowing there with attack. Okay, I like it. As listeners will see, there is, yeah,
I
you'll
really
see.
didn't mean to do it that way.
No, it's good. Okay, so who am I and what is my life story up to this point in my background?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
What was your world? What was your world like, Luch?
Yeah. I feel like growing up, I like had a pretty normal childhood. Like I grew up in pretty, like I'm from Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada, and I grew up like all over the island. I think we lived in, when I was born, in Duncan or Cowichan, whatever you want to call it. And then I think we lived in a really small town called Ucluelet for a couple of years. It's out by Tofino, which is pretty famous and popular. And then we moved to Gold River, and we lived there for 10 years. And I'm pretty sure at the time there was like something like less than 3,000 people there, or something like super,
Really?
super small
You're a
town. Oh yeah.
small town guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it was one of those places where you just like, you walked or biked everywhere. Like I
That's cool.
don't remember getting driven around a lot unless I had my hockey gear in the car.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was pretty cool to grow up there, and we were just always like busy and active, like whether it was road hockey or on bike rides or exploring different parts of the town with friends or my siblings, whatever it was.
Yeah, you had a lot of siblings to play road hockey with, or knee hockey, as we mentioned.
Yeah, mini hockey.
Mini hockey,
yeah. So we did that, and then we ended up moving. I ended up playing, so I played minor hockey there, and then I ended up playing for a year of rep before we moved for a year. So like we lived in Gold River, and then while we were living there for 1 year, I played rep for in a town that was an hour and a half away. So it was a lot of travel.
Wow.
For my parents. So it was a huge sacrifice for them to drive me pretty much every day to play rep hockey for an hour,
So
an hour
many
and a half
parents.
away. Yeah, and as a lot of parents do. And
Was
so
there hockey a thing in those small towns? Like, how did you get into hockey?
Well, the I don't really know, to be honest. I was in figure skating, or like oh yeah,
No,
they
you
called
didn't.
yeah, they called it can skate. It was for kids that are like 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and I did that before. And there was even like a play that I did. It was like
I did the
Aladdin,
exact same thing. I was a Care
Aladdin
Bear.
themed.
I was a
Yeah.
Care Bear. You were Aladdin?
I was in an Aladdin play. I forget what character I played, but yeah, I did that before
Oh my
I did
God.
hockey, and then my dad played hockey, so I think they just kind of thrust me into it. But I think I'm so glad that I did the can skate before, because I was always like one
Yeah.
of the best skaters on the team, so that really helped me out.
Man.
But yeah, like when I lived Gold River, we didn't have rep hockey because it was so small, so that's why
Yeah.
they drove me an hour and a half to play rep. that one year. And then we moved to that town, which is Comox, and we really only lived there for a year. And then we moved again to Port Alberni, which is where I spent the rest of like my upbringing, my childhood, and into
Yeah.
high school, and graduated high school in Port Alberni. Played rep hockey there. And then I played my grade 12 year, I played junior B for the Oceanside Generals in the BCHL. And then I also played the year after I graduated while I just took online courses, or not online, in-person courses through college that was local. So I took some first year university or college courses, and then also played another year of junior. And then that year, that was my 18-year-old year, I actually had a seizure that year.
A seizure.
Yeah, well, I had had one when I was a lot younger too, but I had a seizure that year.
Like on the
And
ice?
no, it was when I was at home, but that kind of like derailed my year a little bit because
Yeah.
I think like right before, I can't remember if it was like right before or right after like a day after it happened or something like that. I got a call from a BCHL team, Cowichan, who like were
Oh,
calling me to like come up with the club potentially and potentially
yeah.
stick with them for the rest of the year. And I had to tell them
Oh,
like, yeah,
yeah.
I just had this seizure, like I'm not playing right now. And they're like, oh shit, sorry to hear that. So there goes my year pretty much. And I spent the
Yeah.
rest of the year in junior B. And then but then after that, I was so fed up with like just like the politics and getting like promised things, and people not delivering on those promises. And
That's junior hockey, eh? Like it
yeah,
is
and just like how
so
things had
bad.
gone, I was just like
Yeah.
so fed up and done with hockey, and like how that had happened. I was very much in that victim mode of like, why did all this stuff happen to me? Like, why couldn't, like, this is all I've
Yeah.
ever dreamed of. Like, why didn't it just happen for me? And then, so I actually like, I was done with hockey. Like, I was like, oh no, you know what? I quit. Like, after I still had 2 years left of junior. And then I was like, I'm just gonna go to school. So I was planning to move down to Victoria, which is where I live now, and I was just gonna go to school. But then forget, like a little while after that, I think like my dad or someone told me like, hey, did you know UVic has a hockey team? And I was like, no. So I did a little bit of research into it. Contacted the coach, and he's like, yeah, you can come for a tryout, blah blah blah. So that August or September, when I went to move down to Victoria for school, I ended up trying out and walking on the team, and
Oh,
which I
walk
did.
on action, huh?
Yeah, which I did not
Yeah.
expect. I was expecting to just be done with hockey and just go to school.
How long have you not played for? Like when
No, like it was that the same
Oh, it's the
since like the
same.
same year
Okay.
after. Yeah.
So you trained all summer, got your
No, I
swell
did
on.
not train.
You
I did
didn't train
not
all
train.
summer.
Well, because I
No.
was not expecting to play. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm done
yeah.
with hockey. Like I'm just gonna go to school, and so yeah,
And then you
made
still went there and made it, huh?
so went there, made it. For some, I don't even remember that back to like what was going through my mind or why I decided, but I decided to play. Obviously, thankful that I did because I did my Bachelor of Science with a combined major in biology and psychology through UVic. I played all 5 years there. I was the assistant captain for my third and fourth year, and then my final year, I was the team captain. That year, we actually went on to win the championship as the underdogs in my final year. So,
Wow, leadership, Luch.
yeah, it was a
I
pretty
like
crazy,
it.
like the Cinderella ending to that story.
Sounds,
So,
yeah, it does sound like it. So technically, you not going to play in the BCHL was just not meant to be.
yeah, there you go.
Your
Everything happens for
story.
a reason. Even though,
Yeah.
like, at the time, it was like, that hurt me so bad that that made me essentially decide to quit hockey because I was just
Yeah.
so fed up with, not going in the
Yeah.
direction that I wanted to go in. So,
But like that was one thing though. Like
yeah, but
you,
there was, like I said, there was a
yeah.
bunch of things that that was kind of like the last straw for me. There was a bunch of things that had happened up to that point that led me to that, and that were just kind of like setbacks or disappointments or whatever it was that kind of
Yeah.
just like took away my motivation or confidence or whatever you want to call it. So
Your drive, yeah.
my drive for it, yeah.
We'll
So,
have to dig into that some other time.
well, that's only till I was what, 23, and I'm now 32, so I still got another 10 years to go, right? I'll go through this somewhat quick though. So yeah, from there I was like, I had finished my degree. We won the championship. I was like on a high. I was like, this is unreal. Like I love hockey again. I don't want to quit anymore. Like I want to keep playing. I also don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. So that summer I was like reaching out to like, because one of my teammates from a previous year had gone over to Europe to play pro. So I was like, oh, that would be sweet if I could do that. So I started like being my own agent basically, and like reaching out to all these teams in Europe, and like not knowing if I like who I was even emailing or what I was even doing. ended up getting some responses, and I got a tryout in a small town in Sweden called Avesta. So, packed on my bags, I trained that summer, packed on my bags, went there not
You
knowing.
trained that summer, huh?
I
You were
trained that
you
summer.
did
Yeah,
train.
yeah.
Okay,
I was
good.
trying that summer, yeah. Not knowing who I was gonna be meeting, like where I was going, what I was like I didn't know anything. Like I'd talked to the GM, he was gonna pick me up, but that's all I knew. I knew his name and that's it.
Were you
So
kind of like doubting that a little bit based on what you just said? Like, oh, people tell you things to do and like they don't come through on what they're saying. Was there
yeah, I
part
had
of you that
no
was a
idea
bit
what to
scared? Were you
yeah,
a
I had
bit
no idea.
scared?
Totally. I had no idea what to expect. And it was also I'd never been to Europe before, let alone across the country. And like I was flying there alone, like not knowing what I was getting into or what I was like, what am I doing? Like it was like probably one of the most hardest things I've ever been through. And it was just like, yeah, so much anxiety and unknowns, uncertainty about what was going to happen. And it was a huge like Hail Mary leap of faith. But obviously I'm glad I did it. So I
That's what
ended up
I did
getting,
too. Did you know
yeah,
that? After college, I just packed my shit and went to Switzerland.
yeah,
Played there too, so I
yeah.
get it. I got a
Wild.
cat though there when I got there because I was so homesick. I found a cat. Did you get a cat?
Companion buddy. No, I didn't
No, I
have
did
one.
not.
So yeah, went there, showed up. This guy like picked me up. He's like, "You look like a hockey player," and so he just jumped into his car and he just took me to a random hotel. He's like, "Here, have a sleep for the night." And so I just got left in this hotel in Sweden. Didn't know where I was or what I was doing.
It wasn't a
Um,
creepy van with no windows, did he? Did he
no,
pick
no,
you
no.
up? Okay, good.
It was a Volvo. Yeah, it's
Oh
classic
yeah,
Swedish car. Yeah.
very.
But yeah, so ended up joining the team. He drove me to join up with the team the next day. Start of tryouts was rocky, like coming off the plane, not having done anything for a couple of days, just like yeah, it was
Yeah.
not good. But I ended up making the team. So I played my first year pro in Sweden in Division Two, and then I played that season and then came back. I actually got a summer job as a behavior interventionist, so working on with kids on the autism spectrum, and that was pretty cool. It was kind of like my first experience with doing, one-on-one type work in that kind of setting. So I learned a lot about like, the health side of things on the mental side in that space, and then ended up getting another contract with a different team for the next year and went back and played again in Sweden for a different team, Olofstrom the second year, and then after that, I came back home and I was like, I should probably figure out what I want to do with my life. I
Yeah.
applied for my master's of counseling program because I'd had that experience from the year before, kind of like with the mental health side of things. So
Yeah.
I applied for my master of counseling, took some courses, got in, and then did my master of counseling. And I was like debating whether or not I should do it or go back for another year for playing. And I was like, I don't think I should pass up this opportunity. So
Yeah.
I did my master of counseling for the next 2.5 years and then became a registered clinical counselor, registered psychotherapist, and mental
Wow.
performance coach. And that kind of like brings me to where I am now of like working with CEP and doing some counseling stuff and working with some teams and just loving what I'm doing now. So it's been a
Yeah.
really rewarding and great journey so far. So
Yeah. What brought you to that summer job where you did the behavioral stuff? Like, how did you decide to do that? Because you said you had a biology and psychology
yeah, yeah.
bachelor. So what? That was just. Oh, I went to do this behavioral autism job. What brought you
Yeah,
there?
it was, I don't know, it just like fell on my lap kind of like randomly. I think I was just like applying for jobs and I don't even remember, I don't even remember like choosing anything specific. I was just like apply, 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 apply. And a couple things came back and this was one of them. I was like, okay, I'll go for the interview. And it just kind of like, yeah, worked out. And
Wow.
then like, yeah, I didn't like intentionally go there and seek this job out. It kind of like found me in a way. So it was kind of cool.
Wow. A couple of things falling in your lap.
Yeah,
That's
after
awesome.
hockey didn't fall in
Yeah,
my lap. So.
exactly. Yeah, he definitely did.
The right things did. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
I feel like hockey doesn't fall in anybody's lap,
No,
really. Like,
no,
right? I'm not wrong
very
in saying
rarely.
that. Or
Yeah,
sports in general, nothing really falls in your lap, I guess.
no.
But
But I think some
yeah,
things can work out in your favor sometimes, or you get lucky, or different, like, right
yeah,
place, right time type of thing. So,
for sure. Yeah.
which didn't happen for me, but it worked out another way. So that's good.
And then now you're crushing it,
Yeah,
just helping people every day.
yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah. You're succeeding. All right. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
So much depth to you. Um, okay. So tell us a little bit about the moment maybe something changed, or what was the most difficult aspect of all of that experience?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously I said the moving to Sweden alone and not
Yeah,
speaking the language or knowing where I was going or who I was meeting, those are difficult things to go through, I think, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah.
And definitely shaped who I was and who I was becoming and who I am now. But I think if I think back to the most difficult thing I went through, it was definitely an experience I had while I was a summer student going to UVic. So at between each year of like university at UVic, I'd move home for the summer and I would work in my dad worked in forestry, and so he got me a job in the forestry field, doing like some engineering and surveying and stuff like that. So and so I did that basically every single summer. And so I think the like third or fourth summer that I came back from university, it was like a pretty tough summer. I don't think there was like a lot of work available. So
Yeah.
we were doing some actually work like off the island, like on the mainland. So we had to actually like fly out. We got flown out to go do some of that work.
The seaplane.
Yeah, we took a seaplane and then like a
Yeah.
helicopter or something like that, and
Wow.
but it was like super super remote. Like there's no roads that get there. Like you had to fly there, and it was just like this tiny little camp, like on the mid Sunshine Coast of
Wow.
BC. Just like yeah, so remote. Like no cell service, no nothing. Like I think the closest town was like Bella Bella or Bella Coola, one of those two.
Was it
And
beautiful though? It must have been gorgeous.
oh, it was gorgeous, yeah. But I mean, I think the whole experience got pretty tainted by what happened. But
Yeah.
so, anyways, I was working with like my boss of the company that I worked for, and then a couple other people, and we were just like getting flown in. Basically, what they do is like they like. Are you familiar with like forestry and logging and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think at a very basic level for
Okay,
sure.
so basically they do like all the engineering and planning and surveying, and they like map out this area that they want to like harvest and like cut down trees in basically. And so normally they would like build roads to get into those places to do it, but because
Yeah.
this is so remote, they're not building roads. So they drop people off and they go build like these makeshift helicopter pads in the middle of nowhere. And so the helicopter flies you in, drops you off. You're in the middle of nowhere, no cell service, like you just have radios to communicate with each other.
Wow.
But so this helicopter pilot just drops us off and then we go to work.
Like, wait, like every day?
Yeah, every day.
Oh,
Yeah, like 7 a.m. and then he'll come back and pick us up at like 4 p.m. or whatever when the day's done.
it
So,
sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Like,
well, it was a little bit of a
yeah,
beginning of a horror movie for
it's
me.
kind
So,
of lining up like that. Yeah.
yeah, so I had such a bad feeling going into this whole trip. Like, first of all, I just was like so uneasy about it, like not working on the island, working away from home, working so remotely, like in this small camp, like nothing there. It was pretty dark. And then the first day we actually got fogged out, so I was like, okay, that's another sign, like something's not
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
So then the second day, we get dropped off. We like all kind of like go our separate ways. There's
How many guys? How many
three
guys?
of us working in, so me, my boss, and then one other guy working in this area. So we get dropped off. We all have our things that we need, our tasks that we need to do, and we kind of all go our separate ways. And then like 30 minutes after that or something like that, it was pretty quick after that, all of a sudden I get this call on the radio that's like this person just like screaming at the top of their lungs, like screaming so loud you can't hear what they're saying. But all I heard was something, 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 grizzly bear.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
but how
then
old are you at this point?
so this was 2015. I was born in 93, so that was 22.
Okay. Yeah, still a young buck.
Yeah. So, and it's like one of those moments like you see in the movies where just like everything like stops and freezes in the entire world for like what feels like hours, but it was like
Yeah.
seconds. So I just like stopped in my tracks. I was like, no, this can't be real. This is like not like I'm dreaming or something. Like this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a couple of seconds later, the same person comes on like screaming again, like, guys, you need to help me. Like I just got attacked by a grizzly bear.
Oh my God.
And I was like, holy shit, this is real. This is like not happening, but this is real.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like frozen. Like I'm like I could not physically move. Like I was actually frozen. Like I didn't know like what to do, what to think, what to say. Like I was like in shock. Like the
Fight or
worst shock.
flight or freeze.
Yeah, but like the most intense version that I've ever felt in my life, where it was like I was completely immobilized, both mentally and physically.
Wow.
So, and then I can't remember if he came on again and said something or if like the other guy said something, but I was like, I managed to like get on the radio and be like, what do I do? And then someone, I don't know who said to me, like, you need to get back to like the helicopter pad now. And so I just remember as soon as I heard that, I like put all my stuff into like this like vest that I had. I turned around and I sprinted back. So it took me about 30 minutes to get to that point, and I sprinted back in about 5 to 10 minutes. And this is like through thick bush in the forest. And like I remember I was running so fast that at one point I jumped off this little mini cliff, and it was probably about 8 or 9 feet tall.
Wait, you jumped off the cliff?
But I didn't jump off it. I was running so fast that I ran off of it and landed and kept running because I had so much adrenaline going. Like
Yeah.
that's like I
Wow.
didn't miss a beat. It was like running and then you just like fall and keep running. But I didn't fall. I just like dropped.
Kept
It was like
going.
running, drop, running. Yeah.
Wow.
So I got back to the helicopter pad. Like obviously I'm shaking, freaking out, not knowing what's happening or what's going on. And
So
that
at
I
this
meet
point, you're by yourself at the helicopter pad.
Yeah, and then I meet the other guy there, and I basically he kind of like tells me what to do, tells me what the plan is. He was gonna go down and get like who our boss, who was just like really close by, and he was gonna go like scan the area and make sure that like the bear was out of the area, and also we didn't know what kind of condition he was in either.
How old is that guy?
He was
The other
probably
guy.
like 30s, early
Okay,
40s,
so he had
something
like
like that.
he had experience.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
But like none of us had like significant or serious weapons or anything. Like I had bear spray and like a pocket knife, and like none of us had guns or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
nothing. But
No
like
one.
I was like, oh, you're going down to the bear site. Like here, take all my weapons, take my bear spray, take my knife. So like he goes down, and then and then he's like, okay, your job is to like get hold of our helicopter pilot because he's not around. Like he leaves for the day and then comes back at the end of the day because there's like
Yeah.
no one expects this to happen.
Wow.
So he leaves, goes down there, and then I'm like, I have the satellite phone trying to like get enough service. Like I'm like this, trying to get service to call dispatch, to call the
The
helicopter
helicopter.
pilot because I didn't have the direct line to the helicopter pilot. He just like comes back at the end of the day. So I had to call dispatch to relay a message to him. So I finally get a hold of dispatch while also calling the Coast Guard to come get us just because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but I gave all my protective equipment to my buddy. So I'm standing there on the helicopter pilot, and then after I got off the phone, I'm like, holy shit. I'm literally like so
Standing
close to
duck. What is
the
that saying? Like standing duck
sitting
or
duck.
sitting duck
I'm a
standing.
sitting duck right now
You're literally in this wide open
in this
place.
wide open place, and the attack site's like right below me, and I have nothing now. And then so now I'm like freaking out. And so this, from the time I got to the pad to the time I got picked up was about 2 hours, and it felt like
2
days.
hours.
It felt like days. And the whole
Yeah.
time I was just like spinning in circles, trying to find like a tree to climb if I like saw this thing and I had to run.
And did you find one?
I mean, there's lots of trees around, but I'm like, is that gonna be like anyhow? Like, am I like, I literally thought I was gonna die. Like, I thought the entire time that I was like gonna
You're
get
gonna get
attacked and
attacked
we were gonna
for
die.
sure. Wow.
While also worrying about them down there, like at the attack site, and like not even knowing if my boss was alive at this point. So the dispatch obviously ended up contacting the helicopter. They ended up coming 2 hours later. Thankfully, somehow my boss ended up being able to like walk up to the pad on his own volition. I have no idea, but like obviously general adrenaline, but like I have no idea how
Yeah.
he was able to do that. And like I'm not going to describe what it looked like because I don't think people need to know, but it
Yeah.
was something I will never forget in my life, like what that looked like. It was horrific.
It,
So
it was her
like the
you
state
don't
that he was in
yeah, without describing it, was it like because you said you're surprised he was able to walk. Was it all over? Like his legs, his body?
his entire body.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was insane
Yeah.
just to see that and to like, yeah, to see how he somehow, yeah. Anyways, so helicopter picked us up. Again, that 2 hours felt like days, just
Yeah.
like standing there like a sitting duck. I remember the entire helicopter ride. I think we got dropped off at like Bella Coola or something, the like tiny little hospital they had there, and he was medevaced out of there. But I remember like it was probably like a 15-20 minute helicopter ride, and it was like dead silence the entire time as we
Yeah.
just like flew over this area that this horrific like thing just happened, and you never expect that to happen
No, for
in
sure.
in your life.
Yeah. Never planned for something like that to happen.
No, there's no way you can prepare for something like that either. Like, yeah, we could
Yeah.
have had guns and stuff, but like until it actually happens, you have no
Yeah.
way to like know how you're gonna react to that.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you did have a gun, like if you're surprised by a grizzly bear, like exactly, do you freeze? Do you fight? Like it's not even you can plan for that, but how you respond. You don't know.
No, you have no idea. Yeah.
So was he in the helicopter? Was he passed out or what?
He
What
was
was it?
like, yeah, he was in and out. I don't know. I was in the front. He was in the back with the other guy. I'm pretty sure he was like in and out of consciousness. We were trying to keep him awake. We got there, and then as soon as we got to the hospital, I think the adrenaline had worn off because then he was like starting to like
Yeah,
be in a lot of pain.
I can imagine. Well, no,
Yeah,
I
and
guess I can't imagine that, but
yeah, and then, again, I don't need to describe
yeah,
that
yeah,
scene or that scenario, but it's just like, yeah, just you can imagine how like more scarring that was to see him like that.
yeah.
So that they took him in, and then they ended up flying me back to camp to grab all my stuff, and then they flew me back to the airport in Campbell River, and then I flew from, or no, they flew me into, what happened? They flew me to an airport. The airport flew me to somewhere else, I think, and then I ended up grabbing his truck and driving it home, and then yeah,
You drove his truck home.
and then I drove his truck back to Port Alberni. Yeah, so.
So between the time where the helicopter picked you up on the pad and when you got home, what was that timeline like?
I think it was an entire day. Like I think it was like probably 3 or 4 o'clock when I got home. But like that was easily the longest day of my life.
Yeah,
Like
for
easily.
sure.
Yeah.
Even driving home.
Felt like it took forever. Just replaying everything in my head over and over and over again. Like I've just been re-experiencing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Had you been able to get a hold of anybody in your family up to that? Like,
I th- I think I was so in shock that I like texted my family about this, and
yeah,
then after I realized like that was probably such a bad mistake, like they definitely needed to like hear from me in voice
yeah,
and like know
yeah.
that everything was well, not okay, but
That
everyone
you
was
were
alive
okay. Yeah,
and that I was alive. Yeah.
yeah,
But I texted them, I think, at some point, and I'm sure honestly, like there's parts of it that I can't remember, and I'm sure I
yeah,
talked to them on the phone at some point, and then I remember getting home, and seeing my mom like coming out, standing in the driveway, and just like crying, and then instantly, I think that's when it hit me, like I just
yeah.
like fell apart completely.
And you felt safe in that moment.
Yeah, and I just like completely broke down, and then I think that's probably when a little bit of it hit me. I was just like in fight or flight that entire time, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so once you got home and you tell me a little bit about what the next 2 or 3 or 4 days look like after experiencing that, and and again, I'm sure that as the days went on, that it didn't get any easier, probably got harder,
Yeah,
right?
in other ways for sure.
Yeah,
I think even though like it did hit me when I got home, I think it took a while for it to like sink in what actually happened, and like there's no way to be able to begin to know how to process something like that. So I think it was
yeah,
just like not really knowing how to think about it, how to process it, like not even like knowing if what I just went through was even real.
yeah,
Also worrying whether or not like my boss was gonna live or not, like not knowing how he was doing. I think I got updates at some point,
yeah.
and some people have some pretty grateful things to say about like how, my other coworker and I had saved his life and rescued him and all this stuff, but like also you're dealing with that like, but I like didn't do enough, or like I could have done more type of mentality.
For sure. Once you're replaying everything in your head.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't do enough, or I could have done more, like even though rationally you couldn't have, but
Yeah,
it's just like that's the way you think, right? So I think
yeah,
you start to like go down that darkness, and if you've ever been down that like darkness before, you'll know that it's not a fun or easy place to be in. And it just
yeah,
kind of like continues to spiral downwards. And so I think I ended up getting some counseling help pretty quickly after that. But I think it was only like 5 sessions or something, and it didn't even scratch the surface for what I was going through.
yeah. What made you, obviously, like when you think about it, like, oh, this happened, you should probably talk to someone. Is
Mhm.
that how it played out for you? Or was it just like, this is something that I know that I can't manage on my own, so I need to talk
Yeah.
to someone? Or is it just like, no, you're doing this? Or how did that kind of, what was the point where you're like, no, I need to talk to someone?
Yeah. Well, I think like part of the thing that streamlined that whole process was the fact that it happened while we were working. So I had to do interviews of
Yeah.
WorkSafe, what's called WorkSafe BC, and they like had psychologists come in, like do assessments with me, and like ended up obviously
Oh, you didn't have a
diagnosed.
choice. Yeah.
I got diagnosed with PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. And then they're like, okay, like this is what needs to happen now. Like you're gonna have to like go to like counseling, therapy. And then you're gonna have to be seen by like a psychologist and a psychiatrist and all these like different supports and different things. So counseling was obviously the first step of that. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
you so during the interviews, you had to replay everything again over and over and over again, which I understand why they need to do that. But you, and this might be a tough question, but you going through that experience, knowing that you had to do it, but do you feel like at any point people thought about like, should we have him talking about this over and over and over again? Like, did you feel supported through that process, or how did that feel?
I think at the beginning it felt like that's what I had to be doing, but not necessarily what I really wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like so raw and like I didn't even understand it. So like to like keep talking about it, it was just like, yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. So, you keep saying that you didn't understand it. Can you dive a little bit more into that? Like, what does that mean when you say I didn't even understand?
Yeah, and I think that part of it just goes back to like we've talked about, like you can't prepare for something like that, but also like you never expect to go through something like that. Like that's something that
Yeah.
happens in a movie that's like very like fiction movie. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
happen in real life. And
Yeah.
if it does happen in real life, you hear about it in the news. It's like once one in a million people that it happened to or something. Like so rare that it's like it's hard to believe that it actually even happened or was
To
real.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the guilt of like knowing that this person is like fighting for their life physically and you're fine physically, but mentally you're so discombobulated and screwed up that
Yeah.
you can't make sense of it because it doesn't make sense because there is no way to make sense of it.
Yeah. And there's no one to talk to that could really, truly understand what you're
Yeah.
like. I think like psychologists and stuff can understand what PTSD feels like, from a book, but what you're actually going through. Did you feel like you weren't like nobody was truly like understanding you or connecting with you on that level?
Yeah. I thought like, yeah, these people can, maybe understand like what PTSD feels like or what like symptoms I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
But no one really knows like what it's like to go through unless you've gone through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah.
well, this might be a tough question, but when you were experiencing all that, obviously you tried different things. Can you think back to maybe one thing that made you kind of feel almost normal, or where you kind of were able to be at peace a little bit, or was just nothing that was allowing you to feel that way?
Not for a while. Like that happened in like July, mid-July, and I was supposed to go back to school at the end of August and back to hockey and everything.
Yeah.
And things got worse before they got better. So like I went back to school end of August, back to hockey, everything. I had to like drop my course load because I couldn't keep up with the coursework. I was seeing a psychiatrist, I was seeing a psychologist, I was seeing two counselors, I was seeing a mental health nurse, I was seeing like all these different professionals. I was on all the trial and error, trialing all these different medications to see what would work and what didn't. I can't even remember all the different medications I was on, but it was insane.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like I wasn't enjoying hockey.
How could
I
you?
wasn't, yeah, I wasn't keeping up with school. I was isolating myself in my room every day. Like I wasn't like interacting or connecting with people. I was like living an apathetic life. Like I lost
Like numb? Would
enjoyment
that
in
be numb?
numb. Yeah,
Numb?
but like
Yes.
not even numb, like just like pure like depression. And I didn't want to be helped, and I also was just like done with everything, and I didn't enjoy anything. So I don't know how I got through it. I almost quit hockey. I almost like left school to go back home. I don't know why or how I stayed, but I did.
So wait, when you were in that depressive state, you were at school.
Yeah, I was by myself at school. Yeah, so I had
Yeah.
roommates, but like I wasn't with my family. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's when you were saying just you were just staying in your room and isolating yourself.
yeah, yeah, and like yeah, I was to the point where I was like worried for my own safety, and so I had to check myself into the hospital at one point and like tell some of the people that I was working with. So it got very like dark and very real. And that's why I said it got worse because it just never felt like I could like get any traction with anything. Like it just like nothing was working, nothing was helping. It was just like all getting worse and worse and worse. And like the counseling that I was doing, it was like I think I was like, she wanted me to do like exposure therapy or something. So I
What
was
does
like,
that look like?
yeah, like I don't, you don't want to know. But I mean, it's just like exposing myself to like different triggers and things like that, whether it was like pictures or, not actually like going out in the wild or anything like that. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's like nothing was helping or making anything better. Like it was just got worse, worse and worse and worse.
So were you the one trying like all these things, or this is again people were making you do seeing these people and the medication, or like, or what did you try on your own?
Yeah,
Anything?
I just like I was just like following the because I didn't know what like mental health was at this point. Like I'd never done any like seen a counselor or anything like that before, so this was all new to me, and I just like thought all these people like I trusted them and thought they knew what they were doing, and like I don't doubt that they're good at what they do and like in their own ways and stuff like that. I just don't think it was what I needed at the time, and
Yeah.
so I think at some point I forget when it was. It was probably like 8 to 10 months later. I was just like I just like almost surrendered myself to it and just like accepted that, you know what, this is like, this happened and this is how it felt and this is my experience and this is how I feel and like, this might be my new norm. Like, this might be the how things are going to be for me moving forward. And I think once I did that, I don't remember like a specific like epiphany moment like that, but I remember just like developing that from, and I don't know where it came from because it wasn't
Yeah.
anything anyone was telling me. It was just like this like weird kind of like natural thing that just came to me like, oh, I just need to like surrender to this. And once I did that, things started to shift. Not that that just automatically like made everything, sunshine and
Oh, yeah.
rainbows and made everything better, but I think it just shifted from like me like fighting it for so long and just
Yeah.
like battling internally against it and myself to like surrendering that
Yeah.
was kind of like the new norm and the new,
There's a
yeah,
lot of resistance.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
And
why wouldn't there be, like, who wants to be like experience something like that? I think that would be the normal response in a way.
hmm yeah.
So like what, like, leading up to that moment, I know you said there was no like epiphany or haha moment, but like what happened right before you did that? Like was that like your, this is going to be a dramatic thing, but like your rock bottom in a way where you're just like, I either like stand up and keep going, or this is the bottom of the bottom?
Yeah. And it actually didn't happen like sequentially right away or anything like that. My rock bottom was definitely like checking myself into the hospital because I had all these pills and I had very serious intentions and plans and methods to kill myself. And so I was going to commit suicide. And so I like somehow got myself to the hospital and then told all these people. And so, I mean, I was obviously taken a little bit more serious after that and supported a bit more after that. But it didn't like that was my rock bottom and it didn't like it's not like I just bounced up from rock bottom and just
Yeah.
came up right away. It was kind of like I hit it and then I was like kind of like along the bottom for a bit. And then all of a sudden over time, like that's when like the surrender just kind of like came to me and kind of like started trickling upwards from there.
Yeah,
But
trickling, trickling is probably.
yeah, like you think of trickle as like a downwards, but it was like a trickle upwards. I don't really know how else to explain it.
Well,
Yeah.
it was slow. It was step by step. It was
Yeah.
every day kind of got a little bit better
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, and that was what, 10 years ago now?
Yeah, that was 2015, 2016. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like, so we have that trickle up or their climb back out from rock
Mm-hmm.
bottom. You climb out of there. Obviously, you're changed as a person, I'm
Totally.
guessing, as a human.
Totally.
And, what are some things that you start noticing about yourself as you were climbing out, trickling up out of the rock bottom?
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of like self-reflection, a lot of like continuing to like work with different people that were helping me and accessing different resources and things like that. And I think I didn't like it wasn't like a trickle and then like a really like, steep
Yeah.
incline or increase into like this better version of myself. I think it was like very very slowly and progressively over time because I remember like going through a period of like almost thinking that like, oh, because I've surrendered now I'm good. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like I went back to like ignoring it in a way or like thinking
Yeah.
that like, oh, I was fine when really like I wasn't. I was definitely masking with different things and
Yeah.
in different ways and probably not so healthy ways.
Yeah.
so it, like I said, it wasn't like a, the steep uphill climb of like, oh, I'm just like, I got better.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was kind of like very slow, and like maybe there was a couple dips and stuff.
But growth
And
never
just,
happens that way, right? It's
no,
never a
yeah.
straight line.
Yeah, and I think just over time, just like learning and going through different experiences, and like the following year after that, it was the year that we won the championship. So that kind of helped, and then going to Sweden to play a couple of years of pro, that gave me a little bit of sense of direction and purpose. And so all these like things that you do in your life kind of like help and contribute to getting better and working at it and growing and developing in both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. And then I think like getting into my Master of Counseling program and like going through that program was probably like one of the best things for me to like close that kind of like dark
Yeah.
chapter, even though there were great parts of it, but there was also like a very like difficult, challenging chapter for me to go, like a lot of suffering for me to go through. And I think like getting into that and like kind of allowed me to like close that chapter and like reopen a new chapter and like, okay, like this is the direction my
Yeah.
life is going to go now.
How did you feel that loss, I guess is the word, but still be able to be part of a team and do all the things that are required of you? Help me understand that, because I don't understand how you did that.
That is a good question. And I don't know if I have a very good answer for you, because I truly don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did. I think like maybe a part of it was like what I had went through gave me this like unique understanding of like how, even though like nothing was like sunshine and rainbows or anything, and I'm not trying to like paint a picture that like everything was good, but I think because I had been through something so like traumatic, so life changing in like this like really, really dark, scary, horrific way, I think it gave me a little bit of like perspective or like
Yeah.
clarity on like the things that were important in life,
Important.
and
Yeah.
the things that were like that I had maybe taken a little bit for granted before, like how precious life is and like how to like really try and like enjoy the things that you love to do, because
Yeah.
if they're taken away from you like they were for me in that year prior, like I think it's, yeah, just like the feeling is like indescribable of like how crappy that feels to like not
Yeah.
love or enjoy the things that you love and enjoy doing anymore. So I think it's just like maybe a little bit of appreciation too.
Yeah. Isn't it maybe sad is the wrong word. Maybe you can pick another word for me because you're good at that. But isn't it sad that like as humans, we need something like that to happen to kind of like give us this perspective of like gratitude and appreciation and being able to zoom out and see the big picture. Obviously we're hardwired to see the negative and like focus on negative as human beings. That's what kept us safe forever. But I think I just and maybe you can use a different word than sad, but I that's the only word that's coming to me, that because you hear this all the time about people that go through some difficult things. It's like, oh, I have a new appreciation for life. I have, gratitude, and, I don't dwell on things anymore, which is a gift, I guess, right? In a way. But what do you, I don't know if you can try and describe a little bit more the difference before that happened and after, in terms of how you went through your days, or kind of like how you lived your day to day.
Yeah, I mean, I think sad's a good word, just like unfortunate, just like, yeah, a loss that we need to go through like something like that to like gain that perspective or understanding. But I also think that's like, from my perspective, that's also like why, as paradoxical as it sounds, I think suffering is so meaningful, because
It is, yeah.
we get so much like meaning and purpose out of the suffering. And then like without that, like would you be the person you are? Like would I be who I am today without that experience? Absolutely not. Or would I be doing what I'm doing? Like who knows?
Yeah.
And so like you said, it is a gift. It's a like, even though it's like paradoxical, it is a gift. It is a blessing. It is like, that's like part of what makes life life, and why it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time, because I think those experiences are like necessary in order to like give us the lessons we need to like live the life that we want to live.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't even know if I answered your question properly, but
Yeah. No. And I can't.
what
I
was the
asked like
original question
no, I
again?
asked like 5 questions in a row.
Yeah.
No, I get, because you said when you came out of that, obviously, like you started experiencing things differently, like with more gratitude, and appreciation. And so my question was just like before that happened versus after, kind of how did you live your day to day, right? So because like before it happened, you talked a lot about like feeling like a victim and like, not like, oh, things are not fair, why is this happening to me, and things like that. And then when you come out on the other side of this, what does that look like differently in your mindset or thinking towards things that are happening to you?
So just like essentially, what's the difference between like what my mindset was before versus after?
Yeah, like as a person, like, obviously you talked about, being more grateful, but if you were
Yeah.
to kind of like describe that a little bit more, what would that look like?
Yeah. Well, I think like part of it was like I think it like, first of all, it shaped like who I was and who I was going to become and like what I was going to do. And I think like if I think about my plan prior to that, like I maybe had these like unrealistic views of like what my life was going to look like or what I was going to do or how I was like, like the dreams of like playing the NHL or like,
Yeah.
going to, having these unrealistic dreams of like whatever they were. Not that they were unrealistic, they're just that they were like maybe a bit out of my reach and they could have been more realistic. And I like wanted to be a doctor before, but then because I knew I loved helping people, but then I was like, well, now you're introduced to like the mental health side of things, and that was a field that I had nothing or no idea about. And then so that's obviously shaped the direction of my career and where I
Yeah.
went. And like I don't think that would have happened if this didn't happen either. So, but yeah, if I can like think back to like the victim mentality part of it that I went through, I think I was just like very young and I think as much as I would have liked to have said back then that like, oh, I like, I've got lots of life experience. I know all these things. Like I know what I'm doing. But like, I think that was just like an experience that I needed to like really be humbled and to
Yeah.
be grounded and to, even though again, like all these things didn't happen right away, they happened over time, but also to
Yeah.
like think of things outside of myself and my own work.
Cool.
And I think it just like it gave
Yeah.
me that perspective of like being considerate and like knowing that like other people are going through battles you know nothing about. And so
True. True.
trying
Wow.
to treat everyone with kindness and trying to make a difference in people's lives, because when they close their bedroom door at night, we don't know what they're going through. Just like no one knew what I was going through because I isolated myself. So I think just like service to others is what comes to mind to me.
Yeah. Empathy,
Instead, empathy, service to others, like
thinking
being
beyond yourself.
being considerate of others. Yeah, exactly. So I think like yeah, if I don't,
That's a
again,
really good answer.
I don't know if I answered your question directly,
No,
but that's
that was
kind of like
really, that's like the way I asked the question was confusing, but you answered it so beautifully. It's like I could not have like written out a better answer than that. It was like this difficult thing that happened to you actually made you want to help other people.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Which you do and you're very good at it. But so when you were going off like through all this, because you're like, now you said, I want to help people. Do you feel it's because you felt people helped you in that process where you got kind of interested in going into the mental health field? Or it was just like, I don't want people to feel like I did, or not want to people, if because people are going to feel like, but I have more empathy towards people that feel like how I did and I want to help them through that? Or is it because you felt like you were supported and people were very helpful to you?
I think it's both rather than an either or. I think like obviously like I've been helped by so many different people and to varying degrees of helpfulness. I think like what I needed at each of those times or with each of those people, I took out of it what I needed and I left what I didn't. And I think like a part of me was like, yeah, like this is like really cool work. And I think it would be so cool to be able to make even if a small impact on other people's lives and make a difference in other people's lives and help them through some of the things that I was helped through. Because even though some things like didn't resonate with me at certain times, like all of those things contributed to like my well-being and me getting better. But then also like you have the empathy and understanding, like knowing what that feels like or what that is like to go through. And also like, I didn't talk about any of this, but like, something like this affects how you show up in every area. And so
Yeah.
like if I like think about my performance on the ice, like I honestly don't know how I was like able to perform at all. And so like
That's the question. I was like, how were you even able to do that?
yeah, yeah. But
I,
then like I didn't like in that space, I didn't really have any help or support. And so I'm like, well, what if I did? Like, how much of a difference would that have made for me, at least in the context of like
That's
hockey?
really good.
And so like I'm like, well, maybe now with this I can like help people, whether it's like, a PTSD thing or as big as a PTSD thing or as small as just like I'm not performing the way that I want to do thing, like how valuable to be able to help people through whatever their struggles are to be able to,
Yeah.
do what they want to do or enjoy what they want to enjoy. So I think it's a
Yeah.
both and to
Yeah. Yeah.
as a answer to your question.
And on top of the fact, like, how you were saying earlier that, like, even when people were trying to help you, they didn't really understand because they've never been through it. And so you have this layer of like, I've been through it.
I do
I've been through
understand.
it. You
Yeah.
have, and for some reason, I just feel like that connects with people, which is really like this podcast we started is for people to feel like, wow, there's other people going through the things and not feeling alone, right? So like, which probably why it makes you so good at what you do is like people instantly know he knows how I feel, and I'm really not alone in this situation. Because even sometimes when you try and help, and obviously anybody who tries and helps are amazing human beings and they're awesome, but not a lot of people can, help others not feel alone in that way, if that makes sense. Which is again a gift.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's bring it to our 2020 hindsight, right?
Let's do it.
So, Luch, what would your 2020 hindsight be in regards of this story that you just shared today?
Man, that's a hard question to answer so
Yeah.
concisely with such a big thing. But if I was to like attempt to try and answer this decently, I would probably say like this will not last forever and there is a purpose to it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Luch, for sharing that with us today and for being so vulnerable. You're setting
Yeah,
the stage for everybody else that's coming on.
my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thanks everyone
We
for
have some
listening.
virtual knocks. Boom.
All right, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.